All right, here we go, Mary Pat. Shall we ask the Lord to be with us and lead us wherever we're meant to be led? Amen.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. All right. On. Well, welcome back to the Dominican Sisters, Mary Pat. Sister Mary. Okay, good. Sister Mary Pat Leroy and I first knew each other as young principals in Oakland. She at St. Francis de Sales and me at St. Elizabeth's, first round. Then our friendship and mutual respect grew through our shared ministries. Mary Pat was apostolic director for the California province of her congregation, the Holy Name Sisters. Her work in facilitating groups, especially religious congregations, and the restructuring of them led her to international service, including the Dominican Sisters in South Africa, where she co-founded an intercongregational facilitation group. And then our lives found another meeting point during the 10 years that Mary Pat served as Major Superior of the Holy Name Sisters. But I never got to visit your home in Montreal, Mary Pat.
Nope.
Too late, huh? Okay, currently you are living in San Jose and facilitating for religious communities who are facing change. Have I missed anything you'd want to say to us?
The one thing I would add is that I had two aunts that were Dominicans. They were Sinsinawa Dominicans, and my mother really wanted me to consider being a Dominican. So I've interacted with so many in my life, I think she partially got her wish.
We have had a lot of conversations about Dominican life. I remember saying to you at one point, I think you know more about Dominicans than I do. But now let's get into Mission San Jose's question. Would you give us some insights on the evolution of governance structures in your congregation?
Maybe I should start off by saying that I realize that our evolution has a very long history into the structure that it has. That way back in the 14 years after the congregation was founded in 1844, the first missionaries were sent off to the west coast of the United States, to Oregon. And so throughout our tradition, we've had provinces. We've had them for a long time. And in fact, we're celebrating 150 years in the United States at this time. But we evolved to the point where I think the largest number, we had 13 provinces. And, you know, we were quite large, many provinces even within Quebec. The reason for that, I believe, probably was that there were such distances and there were such decisions to be made, and the communication was very difficult at that time. Often through letters, and that took a long time. And the connections that were maintained in our early foundation really came from the heart connection, I would say. The fact that the sisters who came from Quebec had lived there, they were Quebecers, and they were connected through their culture and through their community in Longueuil, the south shore of Montreal, where they were founded. So the structures were put in place in order to enable that kind of communion with one another to remain, while at the same time allowing for some autonomy. And one of the characteristics I've realized in our own congregation was that our provinces, especially those outside of Quebec, those were quite close to the general administration, so had a little bit more control. But we developed a lot of autonomy in what was our 4 American provinces and the 2 provinces outside of Quebec in Canada, and then in Africa. So we have a real tradition of strong provinces, a lot of leadership development because of that, I think. So we're now going in the opposite direction. So it's when I began my leadership of the congregation from 96, the end of 96 until 2006, the end of 2006, we went from being 9 provinces to now being 5. So 3 provinces in Quebec came together, and 4 U.S. plus the Ontario, Canada province form 1 province. So all my orientation recently has been going that direction and doing some work with other congregations too. So I had to kind of flip my thinking about when you asked the question. I had to think about, well, why do we have provinces in the first place? So I went back to history to see. I thought they were for the sake of mission, that decisions could be made readily. And so bringing provinces together became what I experienced my role to be as congregational leader, that we maintained our communion by bringing our leaders together and through our general chapters and so forth. So now we are at that merging state, and we've been 2 years, 1 province that started out about 700 and now is about 600. And we're learning how to do that together. So does that give you an idea where I come from at the moment?
Yeah, that's really helpful. So you were much larger. You had provinces in Canada, the United States, and in South Africa, and in Africa. Okay, mm-hmm. And now, where are those provinces now? I know the numbers have gone down, but geographically, where are they located?
Oh, geographically, we have the African province is in Lesotho, which is in little country of Lesotho, surrounded by South Africa completely. And there are about 90 African sisters there. They were a vice province until about 1996, 1997, when they became a full province.